Here's another reading in Theological German for you. We're still on this article looking at the kingdom of priests idea in Exodus 19:6. You know, when I get going on these things, I'll record several of them in one day, and so I start to feel like I'm being super repetitive, but it probably doesn't feel that way to other people that are watching unless you really watch them in quick succession. Anyway, how little a direct semantic connection delivers can be shown in the solution approach, let's see, recently proposed by A. Schenker. So first of all, just notice here that this word is actually vorschlagen. And when you look that up, you'll see that it means something like to propose. But you just got to catch that it's a participle, which you can see from the ge that's sneaking in there in between the prefix and kind of the main part of the verb. It's declined here, so it actually has an ending, which just goes to show you that even though it's a participle, it's functioning like an adjective. And so you want to take that into consideration with how you're going to handle its place in the sentence. And its place, of course, is part of one of these terrible, heavily modified nouns. So this whole phrase here kind of goes together. Pay attention to this. Okay, so you have this definite article, and you're wondering where is the noun that goes with it. And the noun, it turns out, is this compound noun over here, which I'll have something to say about in a minute. But the point is, you're going to say all this is first part of the sentence, then you're going to get here, can be shown in the solution. I'm just going to say solution for now. We're going to talk about this word, but in the solution. So the first thing with dealing with these weird modifying phrases is to get the article back with the noun so that you know what it is that you're actually referring to. So it's the solution. That's what we're talking about. And then the rest of this just modifies it. Starting with, you can start with this adjective, this participle, okay? So this solution, well, what can we say about this solution? It was proposed. It's a proposed solution, and it's proposed by A. Schenker, okay? So that von phrase actually modifies this participle. Proposed by A. Schenker, and you have an adverb up here at the beginning. It was proposed by him recently, okay? So that very complicated thing, which looks even more complicated now that there's red scribbles all over the screen, is one of these really heavily modified nouns, and that's how you kind of piece it together. Another point to make, just very quickly, is that you have sich lassen here. This is a reflexive verb, but sich lassen is always functioning basically as, it's like it's a modal. It's not technically a modal, but it acts like it's a modal. And so whenever you see sich lassen, you want to go and find yourself an infinitive verb down at the end, and then you're always going to just translate sich lassen as can be, which ends up giving you a kind of passive construction, because it's like in English what you end up with is the modal can, and then a passive construction, be shown, can be shown. But if you just think of sich lassen as can be, and then just use your infinitive down at the end to finish the thought, it can be what? It can be shown, demonstrated, whatever, however you want to translate, aufzeigen. So always watch out for sich lassen. It's very common, but that's how you can handle it pretty quickly. You don't have to know the ins and outs, just translate it as can be. Now I want to take a look at this word down here, Lösungsansatz. Man, my pronunciation is just awful. Oh. Anyway, I want to look at this word. So this is a compound word, and it might be tricky to translate. If you look this up in your dictionary, your German-English dictionary, you're not going to find it. It's a compound word. One of the words here is Ansatz, which normally in the dictionary, the kind of common definitions mean something like base or starting point or like beginning. But if you look far enough in those entries, you'll see that there's like philosophical and literary uses of this term, which is usually going to be translated something like approach. Okay, so that's fine. So you have approach here, and then you have Lösung, which is going to mean something like a solution. So, approach of solution. Solution approach. I mean, how are you going to translate this? It's not obvious in the context what it should be. So what I like to do is sometimes just try to look for other examples of this word being used in writing of some kind so that I can get a kind of a sense of how it's used and what it sort of means. But you can sort of short circuit that too. You could look up in an actual German dictionary just for the German definition, Or you could really take a shortcut and just look it up on Wikipedia. So let's have a look here. Okay, so what does this Wikipedia article say about our word? Lösungsansatz. Again, excellent pronunciation. Okay. A Lösungsansatz can be a solution in mathematics, okay? Or, the second point here, more generally, the Vorgehensweise, which, if you just translate that woodenly, you could just say the way of going about problem solving, not necessarily mathematical problems. So, a solution approach is just a way of going about solving a problem. So in other words, to put it all back into our sentence, this word here is just kind of a superfluous word. You could just translate it as solution, but it doesn't strictly mean solution. It means a way of going about solving a problem. So the problem, of course, is you have a kingdom of priests is a phrase. You have all these different possible ways semantically that phrase could be understood as different kinds of genitive constructions, according to Stein's anyway. And once you've discovered that you have all of these different semantic options, which, according to this, the grammar permits all the different interpretations, so you can't rely on the grammar itself to tell you which is the correct interpretation. And so what he's saying in this sentence is that, you get very little payoff, basically. So how little a direct semantic connection delivers, in other words, just looking at exactly what the semantic sort of item connects to, or what it sort of accesses. This word Zugriff actually normally means something like access. It's even used to talk about hits on a web page. So the kind of like the sort of the thing that the semantic element is sort of really connected to specifically doesn't deliver very much. And how little it delivers can be seen in the recent work of A. Schenker and his approach to solving this problem, the problem being which of these interpretations is the correct one. So it's kind of convoluted. I don't know how you would really translate that if you were just trying to translate this to like publish it or something, but you certainly don't want to say solution approach or anything like that. So you might just want to say way of solving the problem. Probably is the best thing to get the nuance of that word. Okay, well, I hope you found that helpful, and as always, thank you for watching. I am going to be taking a break from this article because it's probably getting boring to some people, and I've had a specific request to look at an excerpt in Ziefle's graded theological reader. So we're going to do that for a little while, and then we'll maybe come back to this article later and keep going on it because it's an article I'm interested in and would like to translate the whole thing just for my own purposes. So it's just something good to work on in the meantime. But if you have other suggestions, please do tell me what you would like to see we work on this channel, because this is all for you guys. And if it's not of use and interest to you, then it's a waste of time for me. So have a good week.